room after room, and rushed out of room after room, my brother scampering after her in a rage of desire, like a veritable madman, with yards standing terribly tall. After much of this kind, she dashed into a darkened place, and he dashed after her, but suddenly he trod upon a yielding spot, which gave way under his weight, and before he was aware where he was, he found himself in the midst of a crowded market, part of the bazaar of the leather sellers, who were crying the prices of skins and hides, and buying and selling. When they saw him in his plight, naked, with standing yards shorn of beard and mustachios, with eyebrows dyed red, and cheeks ruddied with rouge, they shouted and clapped their hands at him, and set to flogging him with skins upon his bare body, till a swoon came over him. Then they threw him on the back of an ass, and carried him to the chief of police. Quoth the chief, "What is this?" Quoth they, "This fellow fell suddenly upon us out of the wazir's house in this state." So the prefect gave him 100 lashes, and then banished him from Baghdad. However, I went out after him, and brought him back secretly into the city, and made him a daily allowance for his living, although, were it not for my generous humor, I could not have put up with the like of him. Then the Caliph gave ear to the barber's tale of his third brother. My third brother's name was Al-Fakik, the Gabbler, who was blind. One day fate and fortune drove him to a fine large house, and he knocked at the door, desiring speech of its owner, that he might beg somewhat of him. Quoth the master of the house, "Who is at the door?" But my brother spake not a word, and presently he heard him repeat with a loud voice, "Who is this?" Still he made no answer, and immediately heard the master walk to the door and open it, and say, "What dost thou want?" My brother answered, "Something for Allah Almighty's sake." "Art thou blind?" asked the man, and my brother answered, "Yes." Quoth the other, "Stretch me out thy hand." So my brother put out his hand, thinking that he would give him something, but he took it, and drawing him into the house, carried him up from stair to stair till they reached the terrace on the housetop. My brother thinking the while that he would surely give him something of food or money. Then he asked my brother, "What dost thou want, O blind man?" And he answered, "Something for the Almighty's sake." "I will open for thee some other door." "Oh thou, why not say so when I was below stairs? O cadger, why not answer me when I first called to thee? And what meanest thou to do for me now? There is nothing in the house to give thee." "Then take me down the stair." "The path is before thee." So my brother rose and made his way downstairs, till he came within 20 steps of the door, when his foot slipped, and he rolled to the bottom and broke his head. Then he went out, unknowing whither to turn, and presently fell in with 2 other blind men, companions of his, who said to him, "What didst thou gain to-day?" He told them what had befallen him, and added, "O my brothers, I wish to take some of the money in my hands and provide myself with it." Now the master of the house had followed him, and was listening to what they said. But neither my brother nor his comrades knew of this. So my brother went to his lodging, and sat down to await his companions, and the house owner entered after him without being perceived. When the other blind men arrived, my brother said to them, "Bolt the door, and search the house, lest any stranger have followed us." The man, hearing this, caught hold of a cord that hung from the ceiling, and clung to it, whilst they went round about the house and searched, but found no one. So they came back, and sitting beside my brother, brought out their money, which they counted, and lo, it was 12,000 dirhams. Each took what he wanted, and they buried the rest in a corner of the room. Then they set on food, and sat down to eat. Presently my brother, hearing a strange pair of jaws munching by his side, said to his friends, "There is a stranger amongst us," and, putting forth his hand, caught hold of that of the housemaster. Thereupon all fell on him and beat him, and when tired of belaboring him, they shouted, "O ye Moslems, a thief is come in to us, seeking to take our money." A crowd gathered around them, whereupon the intruder hung on to them, and complained with them as they complained, and, shutting his eyes like them, so that none might doubt his blindness, cried out, "O Moslems, I take refuge with Allah and the governor, for I have a matter to make known to him." Suddenly up came the watch, and laying hands on the whole lot, my brother being amongst them, drove them to the governors, who set them before him, and asked, "What news with you?" Quoth the intruder, "Look and find out for thyself. Not a word shall be wrung from us save by torture. So begin by beating me, and after me beat this man, our leader." And he pointed to my brother. So they threw the man at full length, and gave him 400 sticks on his backside. The beating pained him, whereupon he opened one eye, and as they redoubled their blows, he opened the other eye. When the governor saw this, he said to him, "What have we here, O accursed?" Whereto he replied, "Give me the seal ring of pardon. We 4 have shammed blind, and we impose upon people that we may enter houses and look upon the unveiled faces of the women, and contrive for their corruption." In this way we have gotten great gain, and our store amounts to 12,000 dirhams. Said I to my company, Give me my share, 3,000. But they rose and beat me, and took away my money, and I seek refuge with Allah and with thee. Better thou have my share than they. So, if thou wouldst know the truth of my words, beat one and every of the others more than thou hast beat me, and he will surely open his eyes. The governor gave orders for the question to begin with my brother, and they bound him to the whipping post, and the governor said, O scum of the earth, do ye abuse the gracious gifts of Allah, and make as if ye were blind? Allah, cried my brother, by Allah, there is none among us who can see. Then they beat him till he swooned away, and the governor cried, Leave him till he come to, and then beat him again. After this he caused each of the companions to receive more than 300 sticks, whilst the sham Abraham kept saying to them, Open your eyes, or you will be beaten afresh. At last the man said to the governor, Dispatch someone with me to bring thee the money, for these fellows will not open their eyes, lest they incur disgrace before the folk. So the governor sent to fetch the money, and gave the man his pretended share, 3,000 dirhams, and, keeping the rest for himself, banished the 3 blind men from the city. But I, O commander of the faithful, went out, and overtaking my brother, questioned him of his case, whereupon he told me of what I have told thee. So I brought him secretly into the city, and appointed him, in the strictest privacy, an allowance for meat and drink. The Caliph laughed at my story, and said, Give him a gift, and let him go. But I said, By Allah, I will take naught till I have made known to the commander of the faithful what came to pass with the rest of my brothers. For truly I am a man of few words and spare of speech. Then the Caliph gave ear to the barber's tale of his 4th brother. Now, as for my 4th brother, O commander of the faithful, Al-Kuz, Aswani, older, long-necked, good-eyed, from his brimming over with words, the same who was blind of one eye. He became a butcher in Baghdad, and he sold flesh and fattened rams, and great men and rich bought their meat of him, so that he amassed much wealth and got him cattle and houses. He fared thus a long while, till one day, as he was sitting in his shop, there came up an old man and long of the beard, who laid down some silver and said, Give me meat for this. He gave him his money's worth of flesh, and the oldster went his ways. My brother examined the sheikh's silver, and seeing that the dirhams were white and bright, he set them in a place apart. The greybeard continued to return to the shop regularly for 5 months, and my brother ceased not to lay up all the coin he received from him in its own box. At last he thought to take out the money to buy sheep. So he opened the box, and found in it nothing save bits of white paper cut round to look like coin. So he buffeted his face and cried aloud till the folk gathered about him, whereupon he told them his tale, which made them marvel exceedingly. Then he rose as was his wont, and slaughtering a ram hung it up inside his shop, after which he cut off some of the flesh, and hanging it outside, kept saying to himself, O Allah, will the ill-omened old fellow but come? And an hour had not passed before the sheikh came with his silver in hand, whereupon my brother rose and caught hold of him, calling out, Come aid me, O Muslims, and lend my story with this villain. When the old man heard this, he quietly said to him, Which will be the better for thee, to let go of me, or to be disgraced by me amidst the folk? In what wilt thou disgrace me? In that thou sellest man's flesh for mutton. Thou liest, thou accursed, nay, he is the accursed who hath a man hanging up by way of meat in his shop. If the matter be as thou sayest, I give thee lawful leave to take my money and my life. Then the old man cried out aloud, Ho, you people! If you would prove the truth of my words, enter this man's shop. The folk rushed in and found that the ram was become a dead man, hung up for sale. So they set upon my brother, crying out, O infidel! O villain! Ati and his best friends fell to cuffing and kicking him, and kept saying, Dost thou make us eat flesh of the sons of Adam? Furthermore, the old man struck him on the eye and put it out. Then they carried the carcass, with the throat cut, before the chief of the city watch, to whom the old man said, O Emir, this fellow butchers men and sells their flesh for mutton, and we have brought him to thee. So arise and execute the judgments of Allah, to whom be honor and glory. My brother would have defended himself, but the chief refused to hear him, and sentenced him to receive 500 sticks, and to forfeit the whole of his property. And indeed, had it not been for that same property which he expended in bribes, they would have surely slain him. Then the chief banished him from Baghdad, and my brother fared forth at a venture, till he came to a great town, where he thought it best to set up as a cobbler. So he opened a shop and sat there, doing what he could for his livelihood. One day, as he went forth on his business, he heard the distant tramp of horses, and asking the cause, was told that the king was going out to hunt and course. So my brother stopped to look at the fine suite. It so fortuned that the king's eye met my brother's, whereupon the king hung down his head and said, I seek refuge with Allah from the evil of this day, and turned the reins of his steed and returned home with all his retinue. Then he gave orders to his guards, who seized my brother, and beat him with a beating so painful that he was well nigh dead, and my brother knew not what could be the cause of his maltreatment, after which he returned to his place in sorriest plight. Soon afterwards he went to one of the king's household, and related what had happened to him, and the man laughed till he fell upon his back and cried, O brother mine, know that the king cannot bear to look at a monocular, especially if he be blind of the right eye, in which case he doth not let him go without killing him. When my brother heard this, he resolved to fly from that city. So he went forth from it to another where none knew him, and there he abode a long while. One day, being full of sorrowful thought for what had befallen him, he sallied out to solace himself, and as he was walking along, he heard the distant tramp of horses behind him, and said, The judgment of Allah is upon me, and looked about for a hiding place, but found none. At last he saw a closed door, which he pushed hard. It yielded, and he entered a long gallery in which he took refuge. But hardly had he done so, when two men set upon him, crying out, Allah be thanked for having delivered thee into our hands, O enemy of God. These 3 nights thou hast robbed us of our rest and sleep, and verily thou hast made us taste of the death cup. My brother asked, O folk, what ails you? And they answered, Thou givest us the change, and goest about to disgrace us, and plannest some plot to cut the throat of the housemaster. Is it not enough that thou hast brought him to beggary, thou and thy fellows? But now give us up the knife wherewith thou threatenest us every night. Then they searched him, and found in his waist belt the knife used for his shoe leather. And he said, O people, have the fear of Allah before your eyes, and maltreat me not. For know that my story is a right strange. What is thy story? Said they. So he told them what had befallen him, hoping they would let him go. However, they paid no heed to what he said, and instead of showing some regard, beat him grievously and tore off his clothes. Then, finding on his sides the scars of beating with rods, they said, O accursed, these marks are the manifest signs of thy guilt. They carried him before the governor, whilst he said to himself, I am now punished for my sins, and none can deliver me, save Allah Almighty. The governor, addressing my brother, asked him, O villain, what led thee to enter their house with intention to murder? And my brother answered, I conjure thee by Allah, O Emir, hear my words, and be not hasty in condemning me. But the governor cried, Shall we listen to the words of a robber who hath beggared these people, and who beareth on his back the scar of his stripes? Adding, They surely had not done this to thee, save for some great crime. So he sentenced him to receive 100 cuts with the scourge, after which they set him on a camel and paraded him about the city, proclaiming, This is the requital, and only too little to requite him who breaketh into people's houses. Then they thrust him out of the city, and my brother wandered at random, till I heard what had befallen him, and going in search of him, questioned him of his case. So he acquainted me with his story and all his mischances. And I carried him secretly to the city, where I made him an allowance for his meat and drink. Then the Caliph gave ear to the barber's tale of his 5th brother. My 5th brother, Al-Mesher the babbler, the same who was cropped of both ears, O commander of the faithful, was an asker wont to beg of folk by night, and live on their alms by day. Now when our father, who was an old man, well stricken in years, sickened and died, he left us 700 dirhams, whereof each son took his 100. But, as my 5th brother received his portion, he was perplexed, and knew not what to do with it. While in this uncertainty he bethought him to lay it out on glassware of all sorts, and turn an honest penny on its price. So he bought the 100 dirhams worth of verradery, and putting it into a big tray, sat down to sell it on a bench at the foot of a wall against which he leant back. As he sat with the tray before him, he fell to musing, and said to himself, Know, O my good self, that the head of my wealth, my principal invested in this glassware, is in 100 dirhams. I will assuredly sell it for 200, with which I will forthright buy other glass, and make by it 400, nor will I cease to sell and buy on this wise, till I have gotten 4,000, and soon find myself the master of much money. With these coins I will buy merchandise and jewels and otters and gain great profit on them, till, Allah willing, I will make my capital 100,000 dirhams. Then I will purchase a fine house with white slaves and eunuchs and horses, and I will eat and drink and disport myself, nor will I leave a singing man or a singing woman in the city, but I will summon them to my palace and make them perform before me. All this he counted over in his mind, while the tray of glassware with 100 dirhams stood on the bench before him, and, after looking at it, he continued, "And when, inshallah, my capital shall have become 100,000 dinars, I will send out marriage brokerses to require for me in wedlock the daughters of kings and wazirs, and I will demand to wife the eldest daughter of the prime minister, for it hath reached me that she is perfect in beauty and prime in loveliness and rare in accomplishments. I will give a marriage settlement of 1,000 dinars, and, if her father consent, well, but if not, I will take her by force from under his very nose. When she is safely homed in my house, I will buy 10 little eunuchs, and for myself a robe of the robes of kings and sultans, and get me a saddle of gold and a bridle set thick with gems of price. Then I will mount with the Mamelukes preceding me and surrounding me, and I will make the round of the city whilst the folk salute me and bless me, after which I will repair to the wazir, he that is father of the girl, with armed white slaves before and behind me, and on my right and on my left. When he sees me, the wazir stands up, and seating me in his own place, sits down much below me, for that I am to be his son-in-law. Now I have with me 2 eunuchs carrying purses, each containing 1,000 dinars, and of these I deliver to him the 1,000, his daughter's marriage settlement, and make him a free gift of the other 1,000, that he may have reason to know my generosity and liberality, and my greatness of spirit, and the littleness of the world in my eyes. And for 10 words he addresses to me, I answer him 2. Then back I go to my house, and if one come to me on the bride's part, I make him a present of money and throw on him a dress of honor. But if he bring me a gift, I give it back to him and refuse to accept it, that they may learn what a proud spirit is mine, which never condescends to derogate. Thus I establish my rank and status. When this is done, I appoint her wedding night and adorn my house showily, gloriously. And as the time for parading the bride is come, I don my finest attire and sit down on a mattress of gold brocade, propping up my elbow with a pillow, and turning neither to the right nor to the left, but looking only straight in front, for the haughtiness of my mind and the gravity of my understanding. And there before me stands my wife in her raiment and ornaments, lovely as the full moon, and I in my loftiness and dread lordliness will not glance at her till those present say to me, O our lord and our master, thy wife, thy handmaid, standeth before thee. Vouchsafe her one look, for standing worrieth her. Then they kiss the ground before me many times, whereupon I raise my eyes and cast at her one single glance and turn my face earthwards again. Then they bear her off to the bride chamber, and I arise and change my clothes for a far finer suit, and, when they bring in the bride a second time, I deign not to throw her a look till they have begged me many times, after which I glance at her out of the corner of one eye, and then bend down my head. I continue acting after this fashion till the parading and displaying are completed, and Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say.